What if you could walk through life untouched by insults, criticism, or provocation? Imagine for a moment that no matter what others say or do, you remain calm, steady, and in control. No more boiling anger, no more sleepless nights replaying arguments in your head, no more wasted energy on people who don't deserve it. Sounds impossible? It isn't. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, believed that anger is never just about the surface. It's a signal, a message from the unconscious. And if you can learn to read that message, you can stop being a prisoner of your emotions. You already know how draining it feels when someone pushes your buttons. Maybe it's a colleague who undermines you, a family member who always criticizes, or even a stranger who provokes you in traffic. You've been there, haven't you? That rush of heat, the pounding heart, the urge to respond. But here's the truth. When you get angry, it isn't really about the other person. It's about something deep inside of you. Carl Jung's psychology opens a doorway into this hidden world, showing us that anger often comes from unconscious complexes and unresolved parts of our personality. Think about that. What if every time you felt offended, it wasn't proof that the world is against you, but evidence that your own inner world is crying out for attention? What you're about to discover may surprise you, because the real secret to never being bothered by anyone is not about controlling other people, it's about mastering yourself. Stay with me, because as we explore Jung's insights, you'll see how your reactions can transform into reflections, how your triggers can become teachers, and how the very things that once disturbed you can reveal the path to inner freedom. Imagine being able to walk into any situation, no matter how tense or provocative, and remain unshaken. Isn't that the kind of power we all crave? Fascinatingly, Jung believed that our emotions are like messengers from the unconscious. When anger erupts, it's often because someone has touched a part of us we try to ignore, the shadow, the hidden side of our personality. And instead of running from it, he taught that we must face it. You see, it's not about silencing your anger, but understanding it. And once you do, the world no longer holds the power to disturb you. So, how exactly can you reach that state where no one can control your peace of mind? Let's begin by uncovering why anger feels so unstoppable in the first place. And maybe as you listen to this, you're already remembering moments when anger got the best of you, or when someone's words left you restless for hours. Have you ever noticed how those moments seem to echo long after the situation has passed? That's the kind of hidden weight Jung was pointing to. And here's something important. I'd love to know how this resonates with you. What situations tend to trigger you the most? Or maybe you've already discovered a way to stay calm when others lose control. Share it in the comments, because your story could be the insight someone else needs right now. If this conversation is striking a chord with you, take a second to like this video. It may seem like a small action, but it tells me this content is meaningful, and it helps push these ideas to more people who need them. And if you feel that this is the kind of wisdom you want to carry with you, not just for today but as part of your journey, then subscribe to the channel. Your support builds a community of people who are not satisfied with surface-level answers. People who want to dive deeper into psychology, philosophy, and timeless wisdom. The truth is, this channel grows with you. Every comment, every like, every new subscriber is a signal that these teachings still matter in our modern lives, that they can change the way we see ourselves and the world. So, if something here touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Let your voice be part of this dialogue. Now, let's take this even further and explore why anger feels so unstoppable and what Jung revealed about its true origins. Have you ever wondered why anger feels like a storm you can't control, like it erupts out of nowhere and takes over before you even realize it? The truth is, anger is not random. It isn't just about what someone said or did in that exact moment. Carl Jung believed that emotions, especially powerful ones like anger, come from unconscious forces that run much deeper than the surface of daily life. When you suddenly explode, when words slip out that you didn't mean, or when your body reacts with heat and tension, what you're experiencing is the eruption of something hidden, what Jung called complexes. These complexes are like invisible knots in your psyche, built from past wounds, unspoken fears, and unresolved experiences. They sit quietly in the background until someone, without even knowing, touches them. That's when you feel the surge, the unstoppable reaction. Think about, why is it that two people can hear the same insult, yet one shrugs it off while the other feels shattered? It's not the insult itself, it's the personal meaning tied to it. When you carry unresolved pain, even the smallest trigger can feel like an attack. This is why anger can feel so much bigger than the situation at hand. You're not just fighting with the person in front of you, you're fighting with echoes of the past, and that's what makes it so exhausting. Jung's insight here is profound. The reason anger feels unstoppable is because it's not only about the present, it's the unconscious speaking through you, demanding to be heard. This realization can change everything, because once you understand that your reactions are not purely about them, but also about you, you begin to step into transformation. You're no longer blindly swept away by the storm. You start to see the hidden patterns behind your emotions, and that's powerful. It means you can stop blaming every situation and start uncovering the truth hidden within yourself. Anger becomes a doorway, not a dead end. Behind that eruption lies the opportunity to change your mental framework, to rebuild the way you process conflict, and to take decisions from a place of clarity rather than chaos. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject to show you what really lies behind these unconscious triggers and how understanding them can transform the way you live. But before we move forward, write in the comments, "This makes sense to me." One of Jung's most powerful ideas for understanding anger is the concept of projection. Projection happens when we take something from inside ourselves, an insecurity, a fear, a weakness we don't want to admit, and we unconsciously place it onto someone else. It's like carrying a mirror without realizing it, and every time we look at another person, what we really see is a reflection of what we're avoiding in ourselves. That's why certain people irritate us so much. It's not always because of who they are, but because they awaken something in us we would rather keep hidden. Think about the last time you felt deeply bothered by someone's behavior. Maybe they were arrogant, selfish, or careless. Ask yourself, why did it hit you so hard? Was it only because of what they did? Or could it be because in some corner of your own psyche, there's a part of you that struggles with the same trait or fears being seen that way? Jung believed that anger often points us back to these rejected parts of ourselves. This is why what feels like a personal attack can actually be a hidden message. When someone criticizes us and we feel rage, often it's because their words touch on a doubt we already carry. If you're secretly insecure about your competence and someone questions your abilities, the anger comes fast and sharp. But if you're secure in that area, the same criticism might slide off without impact. The difference is not the words, it's what they connect to inside of you. This is where projection becomes the secret enemy within, turning other people into screens where we project what we can't face. This understanding transforms anger from being just a weapon into being a mirror. Instead of asking, "Why are they doing this to me?" the more empowering question becomes, "What part of myself is being revealed through this reaction?" That shift changes everything, because it takes the power away from others and gives it back to you. Suddenly, even the people who annoy you the most can become teachers, exposing truths you've buried under layers of pride or denial. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you recognize projection, the next step is to uncover the role of the shadow, the hidden side of your personality that holds the keys to understanding why certain triggers feel impossible to ignore. The idea of the shadow is one of Carl Jung's most fascinating and challenging contributions to psychology. He described the shadow as the hidden side of our personality, the parts of ourselves we reject, deny, or try to bury because they don't fit the image we want to present to the world. It's made up of traits we've labeled as bad, unacceptable, or simply too painful to acknowledge. Yet, the shadow never disappears. It lives in the unconscious, waiting for moments when life, or other people, press the right buttons to bring it roaring to the surface. And often, that roar comes in the form of anger. Think about it. Why do some insults or behaviors barely touch us, while others make us explode? The answer is usually found in the shadow. When someone criticizes us in an area that connects to our hidden fears or repressed traits, the reaction feels unbearable. If your shadow contains feelings of inadequacy, a casual remark about your competence can ignite fury. If your shadow hides resentment or envy, seeing someone else succeed might provoke irritation you can't explain. In these moments, the anger is less about the other person and more about the unconscious saying, "Look here, there's something inside you that needs to be faced." This is why Jung taught that anger is not simply an emotion to suppress or release blindly, but a message from the unconscious trying to guide us. The shadow wants to be integrated, not ignored. Every time we feel provoked, we are offered a rare opportunity to discover what we've been hiding from ourselves. Instead of seeing others as enemies, we can begin to see them as mirrors, reflecting the parts of us that long for recognition. The journey of acknowledging the shadow is uncomfortable, but it is also the beginning of true transformation. When we deny our shadow, it controls us from the dark. But when we bring it into awareness, we reclaim the energy it holds. Anger then stops being a destructive force and becomes a signal pointing us toward growth. Rather than asking, "Why are they making me feel this way?" we begin to ask, "What is my shadow revealing about me?" Right now, that simple shift opens the door to deeper freedom. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because understanding the shadow is only the beginning. What matters most is learning how to move from raw reaction to conscious reflection, transforming the way we face our triggers. The real power begins when you learn to shift from pure reaction to conscious reflection. Most of the time, anger feels automatic. Someone says something, and before you even think, the words are out of your mouth, your tone has sharpened, or your body is tense and defensive. It feels like there's no space between stimulus and response. But what Jung's psychology reveals is that this space does exist. You just have to create it. The moment you feel provoked, instead of rushing to defend yourself or strike back, take a pause. Even a few seconds of silence can change everything. In that silence, ask yourself a powerful question. What in me is reacting right now? This simple practice turns the spotlight inward. Instead of pouring all your attention on the other person, their words, their behavior, their flaws, you redirect it toward your own inner world. That's where the truth lives. Maybe you realize that what bothers you isn't the comment itself, but an old insecurity it awakened. Maybe you notice that your anger is actually covering fear, sadness, or shame. By asking the question, you interrupt the cycle and begin to observe rather than be consumed. Reflection doesn't mean you suppress your anger or pretend you're unaffected. It means you transform the moment into an opportunity for awareness. You stop being a puppet pulled by unconscious strings and start becoming the one holding them. Imagine the difference. Instead of exploding at someone and regretting it later, you catch yourself in the act, breathe, and recognize the deeper reason for your reaction. That is real control, not the fake control of bottling up emotions, but the authentic control of understanding them. Over time, this habit builds resilience. Each pause strengthens your ability to remain calm, not because life is easier, but because you are no longer ruled by unconscious forces. You begin to experience what it means to carry inner authority, to walk into tense situations without being easily shaken. And the more you practice reflection, the more you start to see anger not as a curse, but as a compass pointing toward unresolved parts of yourself. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you learn to pause and reflect, the next step is cultivating awareness so deeply that you can stand in the middle of chaos and remain untouched, like the calm center of a storm. Detachment is not about becoming cold, numb, or indifferent. It's about cultivating such a deep sense of awareness that your emotions no longer control you. Imagine yourself standing in the middle of a storm. The winds are violent, the sky is dark, and everything around you seems to be spinning out of control. Most people get pulled into that chaos, swept away by the storm's force. But there is a place in every storm that remains completely still, the I. That is the place awareness can create inside of you. When you learn to observe your emotions as a witness, rather than drowning in them, you find that same calm center. Awareness means noticing the first flicker of anger before it turns into flames. It's the ability to watch your heart rate rise, your jaw tighten, your thoughts rush forward, and instead of being dragged by them, you simply see them for what they are, passing states of mind. This doesn't mean you ignore your emotions. It means you recognize them without being possessed by them. Jung believed that by developing this capacity for observation, we gain freedom from the unconscious grip of complexes. The moment you see clearly what's happening inside, the chain is broken. Think about how powerful this is in everyday life. Someone insults you, but instead of reacting, you watch the irritation rise like a wave, knowing it will also fall. A coworker undermines you, but instead of spiraling into defensiveness, you step back internally and see their words for what they are, expressions of their own inner conflicts. When you live with awareness, you stop letting the moods of others dictate your state of mind. You stop handing over your peace like it belongs to someone else. This kind of detachment is not disconnection. It is the highest form of connection. Because you're rooted in yourself, you begin to realize that calmness is not something given by the outside world. It's a choice born from within. The more you practice awareness, the more unshakable you become. And eventually, people around you notice. They may wonder why their words don't break you, why their provocations don't move you. That's the quiet strength of someone who has built an inner center. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because awareness alone is not enough. What truly changes your life is learning how to transform the raw energy of anger into fuel for creativity, purpose, and growth. Anger, when left unchecked, burns and destroys. But when understood and redirected, it becomes one of the most powerful sources of energy we have. Carl Jung believed that emotions are never meaningless. Even the darkest, most uncomfortable feelings carry potential. The mistake most people make is trying to suppress anger, locking it away as if it were shameful or dangerous. But suppression only makes it stronger, building pressure until it erupts in ways we can't control. The key is not suppression, it's transformation. Anger must be turned into fuel rather than fire. Think about how much intensity anger brings to your body. Your heartbeat quickens, adrenaline surges, your focus sharpens. All of this is raw energy, waiting for direction. If you let it explode outward, it damages relationships and weakens your self-control. But if you channel it inward, it becomes a force for creativity, assertiveness, and growth. Many breakthroughs in art, science, and leadership were born from someone refusing to accept frustration as the final word. They transformed the energy of conflict into determination, into creation, into vision. Jung often pointed to the principle that what we resist persists, but what we integrate transforms us. When anger rises, instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this?" a more empowering question is, "Where can I direct this energy so it serves me?" That might mean writing, painting, exercising, or even having a difficult conversation with calm but firm honesty. The shift is in using the surge of power not to harm, but to build. In your own life, recall the times when anger pushed you to make a decision you'd been avoiding. Maybe it gave you the courage to set a boundary, to leave a toxic situation, or to demand better for yourself. That's anger transformed, no longer a destructive fire, but a guiding flame. This is why anger, when seen through Jung's lens, is not an enemy but a teacher. It shows you where your passion lies, what truly matters, and where you need to grow stronger. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because once you understand anger as fuel, the next step is realizing that true freedom comes when you stop depending on the approval or opinions of others and begin to stand fully in your own inner authority. The ultimate reward of mastering anger is not simply staying calm in heated moments, it is reclaiming your inner authority. When you stop being bothered by others, you no longer live like a puppet pulled by invisible strings of approval, criticism, or manipulation. Carl Jung described this as part of individuation, the process of becoming whole. Individuation means stepping out of the roles, masks, and expectations that others have placed on you and discovering the deeper truth of who you are. And at the heart of that journey lies freedom. Freedom from being defined by external voices, freedom from the endless cycle of pleasing and defending, freedom from reacting instead of choosing. Think about how much of your life has been shaped by the opinions of others. A single negative comment can make you doubt yourself. A disapproving look can change your decisions, and a compliment can sometimes feel like validation you cannot live without. This constant push and pull creates a fragile identity, one that rises and falls with the moods of the people around you. Jung saw this as a sign that the self has not yet been integrated. Until you find authority within, you will always be vulnerable to authority without. But imagine the shift when you no longer need others to confirm your worth. Imagine living from a place where your choices come from clarity, not from fear of rejection or hunger for praise. That is inner authority. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows themselves deeply, who has looked at their shadow, faced their projections, and learned to transform emotions instead of being enslaved by them. When you reach this point, anger loses much of its grip because no insult, no judgment, no manipulation can touch the core of your being. This doesn't mean you become isolated or arrogant. True inner authority is not about ignoring others, it's about engaging with them from a place of strength rather than weakness. You listen, but you do not absorb every opinion as truth. You stand firm, but you are not rigid. You become both grounded and flexible, like a tree with deep roots and branches that can sway with the wind. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because one of the most powerful ways to see the impact of inner authority is through real-life examples and stories that show how choosing self-mastery over reaction changes everything. Let me bring this down from theory into something more tangible. Imagine a man named David, a professional who had spent years building his career with dedication. One day, during a team meeting, his manager harshly criticized his work in front of everyone. The words were sharp, the tone dismissive, and the room grew tense. In the past, David would have felt the familiar surge of heat in his chest, the urge to defend himself, maybe even to lash out. He would have gone home replaying the scene over and over, consumed by anger and humiliation. But this time, something was different. David had been studying the very principles we've been exploring, Jung's ideas of projection, the shadow, and the power of reflection. So instead of reacting instantly, he paused. He took a breath, felt the wave of emotion rise, and asked himself silently, what in me is reacting right now? He realized the manager's words touched an old insecurity about not being good enough, something he had carried since childhood. But he also recognized another layer. The manager's anger seemed outsized, almost personal. Could it be that the criticism said more about the manager's frustration than about his actual work? With that awareness, David did something radical. He chose not to react. He didn't argue, didn't collapse into silence, didn't carry resentment. He simply acknowledged the comment, calmly stated he would review the feedback, and moved on. The energy in the room shifted. Colleagues who expected an argument noticed his composure, and later some even told him they admired his calm under pressure. Here's the powerful part. Instead of walking away with anger, David walked away with insight. He saw how easily we project our own struggles onto others. The manager's harshness was likely a reflection of his own internal battles, his own stress, maybe even his own shadow. By not reacting, David broke the cycle. He protected his peace, kept his authority, and transformed what could have been a moment of humiliation into a lesson in strength. Stories like this remind us that these ideas are not abstract philosophy. They're tools we can use every single day, and the more we practice them, the more we discover that true resilience is not about winning arguments, but about refusing to be controlled by them. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because beneath every story lies a closing insight, a truth that ties everything together and shows why mastering anger is ultimately about mastering yourself. At the heart of everything we've explored is one essential truth. When you master your inner world, no one can disturb your peace. The storms of life will always come. Criticism, conflict, misunderstanding, even betrayal. But the way you respond to those storms is what defines your strength. Jung's psychology shows us that anger doesn't have to be a chain binding you to unconscious wounds. Instead, it can become a guide, pointing toward the hidden parts of yourself that long to be integrated. Every moment of irritation, every flash of rage is an invitation to step into greater awareness, to see the truth behind the reaction, and to reclaim the authority that has always been yours. Think about what that really means. Imagine walking into situations that used to overwhelm you and feeling unshaken, because you no longer take the chaos personally. Imagine seeing an insult not as an attack, but as a mirror that reveals what you've already healed. This is the transformation that happens when you stop letting others decide your state of mind. You no longer hand over your power every time someone presses your buttons. Instead, you carry it within you, unshakable and steady. When you live this way, your energy is no longer wasted on endless battles and pointless reactions. That energy is freed for creativity, for purpose, for building the kind of life you truly want. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. At some point you realize that the old triggers no longer have the same grip. What once provoked you now passes like a shadow across the surface of your awareness. Noticed, but no longer in control. That is freedom. That is the deep reward of self-mastery. And here's the empowering reminder: anger will still appear, it's part of being human, but it doesn't have to dominate you. The difference is that now you understand it. You see the truth hidden behind it. You use it as fuel for growth rather than fire for destruction. And in doing so, you live with a calm that others can't quite explain, a calm that comes from facing your shadow, integrating your projections, and stepping fully into inner authority. Which part of today's lesson hit you the hardest? Comment below and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you want more timeless wisdom from Jung and other great thinkers, make sure you subscribe and stay with us on this journey. If you stayed with me until the very end, it probably means this message spoke to you in some way. And that's exactly why I invite you to subscribe, so you don't miss the kind of insights that can keep guiding you on this journey of self-mastery and deeper understanding. It's also the best way for us to keep building this space together, where timeless wisdom can actually meet the challenges of everyday life. Before you go, let me know in the comments by writing, "I'm with you until the end." It's a simple way to mark that this lesson resonated with you, and it helps create a sense of community among everyone walking this same path. And if this video connected with you, a like is always appreciated. It tells me that what we're building here truly matters. And since this is just one piece of a much bigger journey, don't stop here. There's another video right here that complements this topic perfectly. Click on it and continue with me over there. We'll keep going deeper together.